There it is. That strip teaser music I love so much.
You think that's what that is?
Absolutely.
That's Henry Mancini, I'll have you know. You're calling
I,
strip
at the
music.
risk of repeating myself.
Hey, everybody. It's the off night. And now that I am back on stage and in front of live audiences, masked and vaxxed, not me, but the audiences, I can actually say this is an off night now. So
Yeah.
anyway, we're here with all our regulars, at least the regulars that show up every week. So and a few, and I've invited some other people to join us. We'll see who shows up. Who knows? It's the off night. So let me. What do we used to call it in radio? Pot this down. I'm going to pot this down. There we go. Great to have everyone
technical
here.
talk.
It's well. Let me. You know what? You can hear them, so I'm going to put them in here. I'm going to put them into the show. Here's our friend Sam Greenfield.
Hi, everybody.
We were commenting over the theme music there, but I had two theme musics. You'll recall because I think you were on the show early enough for that. I had "Rubber Band Man" by the Spinners.
Love that song.
And so
Love them. Love them.
I had La Patera Rosa by Henry Mancini from the one with Breakfast at Tiffany's. Anyway, but Universal Music Group, the people that bought Motown, pulled my show from YouTube for a copyright restriction.
That'll show them.
And the Henry Mancini people never have, so that's why we keep going with that one.
Screw them.
That's the story on that. My lovely bride is here with her poem of the week. Every week she looks at the news and she comes up with a rhyme, which
amazing.
Isn't that? I think it's great. I think it's a great talent.
I think it's wonderful. Are you kidding me?
That she can even rhyme. But that she'll watch the news and think of a rhyme like right there.
Well, and watch the news and not get deeply depressed and start crying.
Well, you haven't read. These are the poems we put on the air. You haven't,
oh, okay. I haven't seen the tears.
You haven't. We don't read the dirges and the elegies.
Oh, okay.
I do, but I don't always want to include them.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So you stay whimsical.
We stay whimsical.
Not always, but I try and end whimsical.
You know what?
I've listened to your poems. You're whimsical, and it's a compliment.
Yeah. You know what?
How about I do this week's, and you be the judge?
All right. Do you want to get on camera?
Yeah.
All right.
You're sitting there.
I know I'm saying. We're eventually
going to break into a dirge.
Yeah, exactly. Now, eventually, are you going to sit on my lap? Oh, this will work.
Just practically.
Oh, here we go.
Hey there.
So,
hey there, gorgeous.
Eventually, we'll have sponsors, and we'll buy a second camera, and we'll be able to just hit the switching switch and go from one camera to the next.
Sponsors,
but for now,
how nice.
Yeah, but for now, we're doing it this way. So, okay, go ahead, take it. Here's my lovely bride, Susan. Take it away.
I should have put a larger font, I guess.
We're getting old.
It's not that my eyes are good. My glasses are for distance. So if I put it up on the wall and put my glasses on, I can read it.
Again, once we get sponsors and we can afford it, we'll get a cue card. We'll get a cue card guy.
February 7th, 2022. Here we go. 13 states and D.C. support Mexico's lawsuit. Gun violence south of the border is very acute. American guns and trafficking weapons. The U.S. would do well to learn from these lessons. Workers' Task Force now has a published report. The White House is pro-union. Tell Biden your retort. The Olympics now are underway, but problems exist on this very day. Suit violations? Come on, be more chill. Who cares if the athletes are light on that hill? Your suit is too tight. You're disqualified. Ski jumping is not about how well you flied.
All right. She uses poetic
Very
license.
Nice.
There you go.
And goes against grammar rules for poetic license. I like that.
Like, call me Dr. Sue S.S.
Oh, very good. Very good. I like that.
Wow. One more S and it could have been sue us.
That would actually be a U.S. Oh,
that's true.
U.S.
That's true.
Anyway, a couple of things I thought were interesting about this. One, did you hear about the jumpers and the ski jump that got disqualified for their suits?
Yes, it's pathetic. It's pathetic.
No, it's not. It's the what the IOC brings in the different governing bodies for each sport to rule on these things. So it's not the Chinese, it's not the Olympics, it's the
You know what they are? They're the Golden Globes of the Olympics. They have no intelligence. They have no marketable skills. They get paid a lot of money to show up, drink, flirt with the athletes, and go, I don't think this is right. That's what it is. Just shut up and watch the goddamn games. These people have no. It's like listening to the Wizard of Oz saying he has no more intelligence than you and I, but what does he have? He has a diploma. They know nothing. Yeah. They really know nothing.
Well, the thing is, and the argument, what they got disqualified for were their suits were too tight. In other words,
too tight for what?
Too tight for whatever their regulations are.
Oh, God. See, that's what I'm talking about. You're a smart guy. You don't know. No one knows. Too tight.
Well, here's the argument. I was trying to think what their argument might be. It says, all right, too tight because it makes them more aerodynamic. Which
yes, it makes them too fast.
Yeah. But there's ski jumping. If you have loose clothing, that's going to keep you in the air longer. I think that.
And how do you? Yeah, but it holds you back. If it's loose, it holds you back. It does. That's true. The tighter the suit, the faster you go.
I know, but you don't want to go fast in ski jumping. You want to stay in the air longer. You want to go farther, not faster.
You don't want to. You do not want to drop your velocity. You don't want to drop your speed.
Hey, did you watch any of the ski jumping? I got a question about that.
I do. That's the only thing I watch.
Do you remember? Yeah, that's when I think of Olympics. I think of the agony of defeat. But
that guy walked away from that.
I know. Back. Everybody knows of our age anyway. I don't know if the kids know agony of defeat, but everybody our age knows the agony of defeat, and pretty much right on through Eddie the Eagle from Britain, who was the ski jumper,
horrendously mediocre ski jumper.
Yes, the ski jumper who tried too hard. Yeah, he was the Donald Trump of ski jumping.
He's a rapist.
No. No. All right.
Sorry.
I'll think of a better analogy. But anyway,
grossly obese.
During the agony of defeat, do you remember when the ski jump ramp used to have an uplift and it would thrust? You know what I mean? It would loop. It would come.
It would give you more lift.
And it would give you more lift. Now it's still going down when these kids jump off. Did you notice that?
Yeah. Yes, I have.
I wonder if it was for safety reasons or what.
It's for safety. It is for safety reasons.
Too many people were flying up and landing on their heads or something.
I told my wife years ago. I said, the ski jump is the one event I really think. I'm not saying I'd get a gold medal, but I could do that. She's never stopped laughing. She said, "You would get to the end. You would get to the end of the lift." And there is where you would stay.
Yeah.
You'd come to a complete halt. But I do. I think if I could get enough velocity, I'd go 50 meters. But I think I could do it. If I could stay up, I think I could do that.
So we bought the, last summer for the Tokyo Olympics, we bought the Peacock package from NBC.
Yes. Well worth it if you like the Olympics.
And it's only $4.99 a month.
Yeah, it's nothing.
I mean, and we for $4.99 a month, we said, well, we're not going to cancel it and then sign up again in February.
Cheaper than Netflix.
It is. And Netflix keeps going up. This one's CBS's Paramount Plus and NBC's Peacock.
Right.
$5.99 and $4.99. They're great deals.
They're nothing.
Yeah.
And and the one I love, because I'm a big fan of Dick Wolf, is anything on NBC.
Oh, so the Peacock package would be perfect for you.
Oh, yeah. He's got 9 shows. He's got 9 shows on the air.
Does he really?
Man, well, he's got Law and Order. He's got Law and Order because that's coming back. He's got Law and Order SVU. He's got Law and Order Organized Crime. He's got the 3 Chicagos. That's 6, and he's got the 3 FBI's.
Can we pitch him one? Because I got a great idea.
Sure.
Law and Order Family Services. And have
my wife's special is Jewish Law and Order. Everyone feels guilty.
I
love that. Oh, by the way, did you see who's becoming a regular on Law and Order Organized Crime?
Who?
Dennis Leary.
Oh, I could see that.
He's a good actor.
He is.
He's a good actor.
He is.
For years, he had a reputation of being a thief,
Yes.
of stealing from Bill Hicks.
Yes.
And, and people hate him because of that. And my philosophy is it's over.
It is.
Bill's dead, sadly, and Dennis is a huge success. And I do not think that Dennis's career was ruined by doing that, nor was it exalted. It happened.
Yeah.
And you and I both know he is an astronomical light year away from being the only one.
That's true.
So,
Did you ever see The Ref?
Yes.
With Kevin Spacey?
Yes. Yes. I like the one he did about toy soldiers, where at the very end, all these, he's the head of a toy soldier manufacturing company. And these people's lives get really screwed up. And they all come up to him complaining. And they say, do you know how much you've cost me in terms of my reputation, my blah, blah, blah? And he rips off a check and hands it to him. He goes, and not only that, why, thank you. So let me get back to this Ramey thing, if I may.
All right, and then I'll get back. I want to get back to these items on Susan's poem.
But that's okay.
Get back. Now, you started the Ramey thing while we were still off the air, so go ahead and
recap. So let me explain this.
Here's what you're going to do. I've got to get my coffee, so you recap
right,
the beginning.
I'll talk about it while you're getting your coffee.
While I'm getting my coffee, you recap.
Which I cannot drink anymore.
I'll drink for you. All right.
Please. So
I want to bring that up too. You and
that
me
I can't drink coffee?
No. Just how Susan and I at some point are going to make it to New York, and you and I and Barbara and Susan are all going to get together. So we have to discuss what we can and can't do. So
we should just start off by bad mouthing people. I think that's always
sitting in the park doing that Annie Hall thing where you just describe people as they're walking.
Yeah, the guy who looks like Truman Capote and the guy who looks like the mafiosa. Yes.
Anyway, finish your Ron Ramey story. I got to get my coffee.
Okay. So for those of you who don't know, there is a Showtime special documentary on Bill Cosby, and it's produced by W. Kamau Bell. And the title, which is a great title, is "We Need to Talk About Bill Cosby," because I don't know how many people realize this, but Bill Cosby is just a huge, iconic idol in the African American community among people of a certain age, usually in their 40s and 50s. His contributions to the world of comedy, his contributions to the world of donating money to colleges, et cetera, et cetera. And
his contribution to the world of antique furniture.
Yes, exactly.
he and his wife are big collectors of antique.
Oh, huge, huge. And so, what has happened is, people who are of that age are shocked. Once this story broke about Cosby's sexual indiscretions,
right?
They were stunned that this happened. This guy was idolized.
Right.
Just idolized, and so the story is we need to talk about this. And it was among the African-American community of people that age. And so they brought people on who had been assaulted by him. And the reason the story hit me is because Ron Ramey, who's a comedian who has since passed away, used to talk all the time about Cosby, that he was a sexual predator, and this is 30 years ago he was talking about this, that he was a sexual predator, that he, most of his, for lack of a better word, and forgive me, most of his prey was white blonde women who he would, get coked up or feed, mostly Quaaludes. And then they would say, I got dizzy, I passed out, I woke up, I was naked next to him in a bed. And this went on for a while. This went on for quite a while. And so when Ramey told me these stories, I didn't believe him because he was given to exaggeration and frankly lying. And I thought, yeah, Cosby of all people, a man who walks among the angels. But he was right. He was right. Now, there are people, mostly men, let me rephrase that, all men in the African-American community, and it's a small number, fortunately, whose attitude is, these bitches took Quaaludes, they got what they deserved. That's essentially their attitude. But here's what I say about it. If it was 4 women, if it was 5 women, you could say, okay, these women got together and they said, "Oh, we're going to shake Cosby down." Okay, it's 72 women.
Yeah.
And among them is Beverly Johnson, the very successful, very financially well off,
yeah,
fashion model.
Yeah, she's
So
got no reason.
it's not women who are looking to make a buck.
Right. Well,
and it went on for a while. And the other story that is not as dramatic, but it bothers me, it doesn't bother me as much as that, is Cosby's PhD. Cosby no more deserves that.
The one from Temple that they just gave him, or the one from
the one from the University of Massachusetts.
Okay.
The one from Temple was like, "Hi, are you Bill Cosby? Here, take a PhD."
Exactly.
They might as well have offered him coffee.
Exactly.
But no, the one from UMass, he and I'm using finger quotes now because my hands are occupied. He wrote a dissertation, but it was about Fat Albert. And the story goes that he didn't write a word, that the people who wrote it were people who were assistants on his show.
Yeah, that could be.
And students, things like that. And also, and this isn't something I knew, but there's a certain level of doctorate that is the lowest level of doctorate. And by the way, I interviewed Cosby years ago. When I say years ago, I mean like 10 or 15. And I was told by the person who, they always have somebody come on and say, "All right, he's ready, please, blah, blah, blah." And they kind of, give you a heads up on what you're going to talk about.
Right.
And I was told 3 different times in 5 minutes, "You will refer to him as Dr. Cosby, not Bill." I said, "Well, I wouldn't call him Bill. We're not friends. I'd call him Mr. Cosby." And the guy went like this, "No, don't do that. Don't do that. No, it's Dr. Cosby." I went, "Well, what happens if I call him Mr. Cosby? Is he going to hang up? Is he going to hang up on me? He's not going to correct me and say it's Dr. I think it's ridiculous, but if he said it's Dr. Cosby, then I'd say I'd stand correct. Is he going to get angry? If he was really a doctor, that wouldn't bother him." So that happened. But I called him Dr. Cosby because, why? I just, I had a radio show. I don't want to put up with shit. I just did. Fine. You're Dr. Cosby. Do you feel better now? Do you feel better that you wrote a doctorate about an obese kid from Philly? Good for you.
Well,
what Wanda Sykes said? If you're going to investigate him, first thing you ought to do is clear out his medicine cabinet.
Yeah. Yeah. After his fall, I had to change my whole promo packet because I was all the press quotes that I was using were the ones that compared me to Bill Cosby because of all the kids material I did.
Man, you really did.
Because
Cosby, only not as rapey. It's not just. I'm sorry. It's not just that it was, and the word you used was perfect. It's not just that it was the fall. It was what the fall was about. It wasn't about being a plagiarist. It wasn't about being a political, a right wing, hard right wing conservative. It was felonies.
Well, I'm telling you,
sexual felonies.
My promo package, though, the thing that I sent out to get bookings was basically you're hiring the next Bill Cosby type of thing.
Holy shit! Ladies beware.
and I had the press. It wasn't stuff I wrote. It's press clippings. You know what I mean? It was if anybody,
of course.
And a lot of people now those press clippings may have come with. A lot of times you'd get interviewed in some of these towns where you're the biggest thing that came to town. So you got their feature writer doing stories on you. And I would say, I grew up with Cosby albums and, and I would say things true or not. I don't know. I says, one of the reasons I have black kids might be because the only comedy albums in our house were Bill Cosby albums. And my parents didn't make a big deal out of that the guy was black. It was humor and it was funny and we enjoyed it. And that he was black didn't make any difference.
It was incidental.
Exactly. And so, and I say a lot of my material, I think about Bill Cosby I say stuff like, I think about Bill Cosby quite a bit when I'm telling my jokes, and what would Bill do? And like, and so my whole press kit had to get thrown out, I'm
Well,
just hoping this.
it's interesting. I look back on it now, and there are two things that stand out to me. I'll use the lighter hearted one first, if I can. Okay. It's not really that lighthearted, but it's much more lighthearted than the other one. That he would talk, he had a bit where he said his father would come into the room when he and his brother Russell were, fooling around.
Yeah.
And he said, I'm going to get the belt. And the belt had hooks in it that took meat out of your body. And I thought, even as a young man, I thought, that's not funny. That's not really a knee slapper to me. That you would hit a child. I mean, he wasn't really literally talking about, extracting flesh from a child's body, but that you would even make a joke about doing that kind of thing. And the other one was, and he went on and on about this, Spanish fly.
Yes.
On and on about an aphrodisiac that rendered women incapable of fighting back.
I've heard that.
And he thought that was hysterical.
I've heard those recordings.
Right. Me too. And I think the reason that it didn't have the impact it perhaps should have is because, well, it's Cosby. Well, he's kidding.
Right.
But even at the level of kidding, you're talking about giving a woman a drug that renders her incapable of moving. And he thought that was hysterical. And I never did. That bothered me. That bothered me more than the beating thing. You can recover from the beating, but right. So that bothered me a lot. But he's two people.
Yeah. I can. My son Raphael, who, by the way, we almost named Ennis because he was born. He was born 9 months to the day that Cosby's son Ennis was killed.
Oh, that was awful.
On the LA freeway. Horrible. And we were so impacted by that when our son came 9 months to the day after, we thought, well, this might be, this might be a sign. He might have been planted in the womb as the other one was taken out of the world, or just some bullshit like that.
Well,
but anyway,
you just made my eyes spin.
We went with Raphael. We went with Raphael because we already had a Michael and a Gabriel. We figured if we're going to do the Archangels, let's just complete the set.
Yeah, let's go crazy.
Yeah, my wife stopped me at Uriel. She says we're not naming the next child. We got to.
That'll be enough.
Yeah, and at least when Raphael was, at least in Southern California, Raphael and Gabriel were named.
That's not really out of bounds.
Yeah, and no, not at all. But anyway. Cosby was a huge influence. I mean,
people underestimate the socioeconomic. I don't know if economic is right, but the social. Let's say social, the social impact that his work had. I want you to think about this. He won 3 Emmys in a row for I Spy. Okay, the like James Bond thing he did with Robert Culp.
I remember.
But he did that like 4 years after he was bartending at Temple University. Yeah. I mean, that's miraculous. He was like 28 years old, and he's winning not 1 Emmy, 3 Emmys consecutively.
Yeah.
His comedy albums are still classics.
Yeah, I have some bootlegs too. I mean,
to my brother Russell, who I slept with, that's a Grammy winner. Yep. I don't know if it really was, but it is.
Yeah, it's
just amazing. You know who made a great quote about him? I think it was Seinfeld. I think he said Bill Cosby's great skill. I think it was no, it was Letterman. He said he makes unbelievably complex material seem very simple.
Yes. There was I don't know if you heard about this, and I'm not going to mention the name of the comic. If you know him, you'll just say that you know him, because if I'm
Pinky
wrong,
Lee.
No, I don't want to. I don't want to.
It's not Pinky Lee.
I don't want to mention this guy's this comic did in his set one night. This is when after the Cosby thing broke, he took the chance and he did a Cosby bit that he had obviously memorized as a child, like many of us did.
Uh-huh.
And he did that, and he told the audience, that material I just did was Bill Cosby, because he wanted to point out that you could separate the material from the art.
I understand. Sure.
You can separate the artist and the art from the human
Right.
being. They did the same thing with Fatty Arbuckle. Don't stop seeing Fatty Arbuckle films because he's funny on film. Just because he raped the girl with a champagne bottle.
Oh, that's what they say. But I heard it was Ripple.
Whatever.
I'm just kidding.
So there was a comic that had done this, and didn't help his career because if I mention his name, there's a couple of people I'm thinking of that this story is attributed to. But
he's not the only one to do that.
No. But
go ahead. I'm sorry.
But I've accepted. I mean, as much as Cosby was a hero to me, I've accepted what he's done and his place and the work he made me do to change my package, my promo package, bastard. But I mean, I've accepted that he's a human being, and
I never understood why people. If I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I never understood why people could not do what you just said you did. That people are not one thing. Now the two things he did, the two things we talk about the most, his brilliance as a comic and his evil as a predator.
Right.
But I don't understand why people can't go, oh yeah, that could happen. Of course it could happen. Of course it happened. It's like I said before, if it's one or two or three women, okay, they ganged up and they're going to try to extort him. Dozens of women? No, sorry. Not dozens. It can't be. It can't be. And the people who defend him still, you're wrong.
Yeah.
You're just wrong.
Well, it's funny.
I have so much respect for W. Kamau Bell.
Once I became erudite and started reading more and got involved with more literary humor, I started becoming a fan of Woody Allen. And again,
and there that goes.
So I can't win for losing, for crying out loud.
But let me say something about him. They're still together.
And isn't she like 50 years old now? I mean,
yes. Look, he and Suni are still together.
Yes.
They have a kid.
Yes.
That's what happened there is what's the word I'm thinking of? Let me use this word, unseemly.
Right.
Okay.
Well, you know what? My father left my mother for a office girl at his company.
Uh-huh.
And my dad was 28 and she was 18. And, that was horrible at the time.
Sure.
And when they got into their 70s.
That's my point.
Nobody, even my mom spent time at their house,
No, that's exactly my point. If it wasn't coerced, if it wasn't forced, it just happened.
Right.
And Woody Allen's great quote, when he said, the heart is a funny muscle. Yeah. These things happen. They just do. No one's evil in this intent. It just, what was that joke he did? No, Caroline Ray did, where he talked about, I can't remember, but not translation. But the you know what I'm trying to say. The interpretation was
interpretation.
Yeah, it was he did such and such and such and such, and the interpretation was it was Chinese for Sun Yi. But they're still together. They have kids.
I know.
It's over.
I know. In other words, yeah. So, to make a big deal of that is kind of insulting to her.
Well, yes, and not only that, but there was a great quote from I think it was Caroline Ray. I keep going back to her name, but that whatever he did to her, it happened. It's over. You can't revisit this anymore. What they did, and the thing that was bad about it was that what was the joke? Every time every time Mia Farrow drives by an orphanage, she thinks it's Home Shoppers Network.
Oh God. Oh God.
That's the joke. Um, but
Uh,
these things happen, and she was no prize,
oh my God, no.
Mia Farrow.
I know.
She's adopting child. And listen, we adopted a child. You have adopted children. So,
Right.
but it was child after child after child after child. So at some point you got to go, haven't you reached your limit? I mean, at some point, she had like 9 kids. And on one level, I say to myself, well, God bless her for having such a big heart and to open her home, with all that love. But on the other hand, I look at it, and I'm saying this as someone who's adopted a child. But on the other hand, I say to myself, why are you going for the limit? Haven't you hit your limit? Because it was a tremendous amount of kids. It wasn't like 6 kids, 7 kids. It was like 10. So,
Yeah.
so what is happening there?
Well, this is in my act, and not for a little bit of an exaggeration, what would actually happen. But all of our kids are from the same mother, and we
And
only got,
God bless her loins.
and we had 2 of them. The three youngest weren't even born when the two older ones were with us. And finally, after number 5, the judge says, "Look, the Sweetman's house used to be big.
That's hysterical.
It's not
That's
that
funny
big.
as shit.
It's not that big anymore. They can't keep taking your kids. Stop
The
it."
sides, the sides of your building are bulging.
uh,
But Cass now, my daughter,
yep.
she lives on her own now. She's
Yep.
got roommates.
Yeah,
And
we got 5 of our 8 are on their own, which I'm happy about.
yeah, me too. And the thing that was interesting about when she moved out, I don't want to say this too loud because if I get this wrong, I'm going to be screamed at. But the transition seemed remarkably smooth. In other words, I live here now. I'm not going to be living here next year. And it was
Okay.
just like, it was like that. That's what it was. And she's got a very dear friend, which is funny because we're Jewish, and her friend's name is Lourdes. But she's got this friend who, they're very close, and they'll probably wind up being roommates. And right now, she's living in a place. She knows the people she lives with, obviously, but
Right.
it's Lourdes, I think, will wind up being like the girl that she winds up, being very close friends with and living
Right.
with, et cetera, et cetera. But she seems to be doing okay. Cass had some, psychological problems, and she's, been seeking help for it, and she's much better. So,
Speaking of that,
she
speaking of that, if I could just do a sidebar on that,
sure,
the Michael Phelps commercials during the Olympics. Have you seen those?
yes,
Those are great.
yes, they are.
I mean, that he would
Open
offer himself,
open himself up like
open
that.
himself up like that, and I think that's great for those of us that have had to deal with mental health issues and stuff. So
Yeah, and I remember Caroline Ray once again. She did that joke about what was the name of that? I can't remember the name of it now, but it was like she did so and so was Asian for so and so was Welsh for Sun Yi. But and the thing that happened with Woody Allen and once again, it seemed it was very unseemly that he was, taking up with this girl who was his wife's adopted child. But here's the thing that people
well,
never talk
one
about.
they weren't married,
Number
and
one, they weren't married. Number two,
two
he
Sudi was
never spent any time at Mia Farrow's house with her,
right,
ever, never. So it
and
happened.
and
It
she was an
happened,
adult, by that
and
time.
she was an adult. And just as a little sidebar, she has no love lost for Mia Farrow.
That's apparent.
None. And that played into this. Mia Farrow adopted like, I don't know, what was it, 85, 90,000 kids? I mean, it was like just it was over the top. It just was.
And
You want to adopt. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Ronan is Frank Sinatra's kid, right? Because he looks just like him.
No, that's the kid who's the writer.
Yeah,
No, not at all.
you don't think so?
I know so.
Okay.
I absolutely. What the hell's the name of Dylan? Isn't it Dylan? Hold
No,
on, let
no,
me
no.
go.
Dylan.
Let
No,
me
Dylan was Woody Allen and Mia Farrow's
hold on for a second. Hold on.
child. Ronan Farrow
Barbara,
is.
what's the name of the child that Mia Farrow adopted who looks a lot like Sinatra? Oh, Ronan. And he's not adopted. That's her child by birth.
I know. That's why everybody thinks
Yeah,
it's
no, no,
Sinatra's
no,
kid.
but you don't think do you think that it's Sinatra's? Oh God, did you hear Barbara?
What'd she
Did you hear what
say?
she said? I said, "Do
What?
you think it's Sinatra's?" She went, "Yeah."
Yeah, everybody does.
Oh wow. So
Yeah,
I'm alone. I'm alone in
he's a
this. Is that it?
he's a natural child. Dylan was the one that was named Satchel when he was
Satchel.
born
That yeah,
when they were
by Woody
together, and then
Allen.
she renamed him Dylan after they broke up.
Out of spite, yes.
Right, right. But no, Ronan Farrow was her child before Woody Allen, and at that she was married to Frank Sinatra for a time. And this was after Ronan would have been conceived after they were married, but it was the rumor was that they had gotten back together, for old time's sake.
Yeah, what the hell?
and,
One more
and
bang
because
for
and
the
because
road.
Ronan looks so much like Sinatra, everybody thinks, well, that's what happened.
Yeah, that was Sinatra's famous song, One More Bang for the Road. Yeah,
uh,
yeah.
give
But
me
I
one
don't remember.
more. Let's
Am
have
I
a
wrong?
baby.
Am I wrong? Sinatra never, if what you're saying is true, Sinatra ever owned up to that.
No. Well, Sinatra was dead in '98. Ronan Farrow would have been like still,
Two.
yeah, well, a little bit older than that, but still. I don't know. He does good work. Ronan Farrow does good work.
He's a terrific reporter.
He's accomplished in his own right. He doesn't need to be
No,
Sinatra
not at all. In
or
fact, when
Mia
I think of
Farrow's
him,
kid
I
or
don't
anything.
think of that.
Yeah, he doesn't need to, he doesn't need any boost from his famous parents. He does well. He's a very accomplished writer. So
Yes, very, very, very right. Listen to us rationalizing this. Well, he's a very good writer. He's really
exactly.
doing a fine job as a reporter. Of course, most of it's about incest, but that's not the point,
Yeah, write what you know. I don't know. What do
right? What you know. That's hysterical.
isn't
Oh,
that what they say?
that's one for my baby. Oh, that's hysterical. And one more for my load. Oh, oh God. We're all gonna die a horrible death. Oh
Mm.
God.
All right, let's go on. Let's go on to another Susan's poem items. The
Please
13 states attorneys general who are joining in with the Mexican lawsuit, or at least supporting the Mexican lawsuit and helping out.
go into what that is, because people don't know, I don't think.
Mexico is suing U.S. gun manufacturers because
Yeah, baby.
they have strict gun laws and stricter than we have in Mexico, and they're saying that the gun manufacturers in the United States are flouting those laws in Mexico.
Well, they're right.
And arming people that would normally not have guns according to the gun laws.
That shouldn't be allowed to jaywalk.
Exactly. So now while the U.S. district's attorney of these states cannot join in on the suit, they're offering them, material help and things like that. So,
you know what's amazing to me about what you just said? Not that 13 states have joined in, but 37 have not.
Again,
unless it's more complex than I
Cosby,
think.
I've accepted where we are.
You realize our place in hell, and you're basking in it.
The U.S. is like Cosby. It's not what they told us it was.
What's that old joke? The woman catches her husband in bed with another woman. He says, "What are you going to believe, me or your lying eyes?" But Cosby also. Well, when I told you I interviewed him, I was told, they always have an advanced person. That's the words I was thinking of. And the advanced person said to me, now, when you address him, you have to I know I touched on this. You have to address him as Dr. Cosby. And I swear to God, Mark, the first word that hit me was pretentious.
Yep.
Because I interviewed Zbigniew Brzezinski. Okay, he didn't ask for that.
Right.
He said you can call him. He said call him Ziggy. He doesn't care. He doesn't care. So to have that shoved at you is like, I get it. All right, you don't stop it. And I thought it was pretentious. And also, I never knew this. There's a level of doctorate. And the doctorate, not that this matters too much, but the doctorate that Cosby has is the lowest level of PhD.
Well, yeah, because he wasn't in academia. I would think that there's a little bit
He
of
wasn't in academia, and he didn't write them.
Right. Right. I mean, there's
Other
people
than that, there is.
I mean, I have a niece that's going through a doctorate program at the University of Houston.
Mm-hmm.
And she works for NASA and stuff. And I mean, she's doing the work to get the doctorate.
Of course she is.
And so, that's different than somebody coming in with like Nichelle Nichols or something like that, coming in with a name.
Nichelle Nichols. Wow.
And getting the honors,
Yeah. Well, it's, and also, and this doesn't bother, none of it bothers me in terms of Cosby's doctorate, because it doesn't matter. He got the doctorate. Good for you. Little pat on the head. Now go away. That's how I feel about his doctorate. Okay.
Right.
Good for you. Now you're Dr. Cosby. Do you feel better about yourself now? That's how I feel about his doctorate. But the doctorate was, the thesis was Fat Albert. Are you kidding me? No. Stop that. No, it wasn't Fat. It wasn't Fat Albert. And by the way, if you this special, this documentary,
Uh-huh.
a lot of the people talked about what a huge impact, African American people, what a huge impact Fat Albert and that show had on them.
It had an impact. You know what? Again, it had an impact on me too.
That these were kids and that you learned lessons from them. That's all fine, but it's not doctoral. But it's not doctoral material. It's just not.
When my school started integrating, because I went to from first through 12th grade, I was not always in a integrated school.
Right.
So that would have been like 66 through 78 as I was going through my, pre-bachelorette days.
Your formative years.
My formative years. It was all white kids, and then it wasn't all white kids by the time I got to 12. But during that time was Fat Albert and the Cosby Kids. And that was, you know what I mean? That
was everything you watched on TV.
Exactly. And so here was something that, as much as our parents may have tried to separate us, Cosby was trying to bring us all together. So, that was...
And he did a masterful job.
And when I say parents, I'm not saying my parents. I'm talking about.
No, I understand. But the job he did was masterful.
Yes.
I mean, and this is why when we talk about Cosby, we can't talk about one thing. It's not one thing. It's this guy who devoted himself to education and at the same time was savaging women. And so, I'm sure there are other examples of this, but nobody like him. Nobody who reached the level of fame and talent. David Letterman, I think it was, who said, it was Letterman who said that one of the unbelievable things about Cosby was that he made, I want to get this quote right, phenomenally complex material seem so simple.
Yep. And this the marking and the whatever, the abuse and the assault of women, that was a score that he could only share with himself. So if he was, if this was something that he was doing
forever,
yes, if this was something he was doing to promote himself to himself, he could only tell himself.
He could never look back on this and say, this was a horrible thing, and now I've moved on.
That's true. That's
I
true.
don't know if you saw this. No, you didn't see it. There was a film clip of Seinfeld, and I think this says something bad about Seinfeld. That Seinfeld said to, who was it he said it to? I can't remember. Maybe it was Marr, but he said, "Can you separate Bill Cosby the comedian and his brilliant material from Bill Cosby the sexual predator?" And the guy said, "No, I can't." He goes, and Seinfeld was amazed. He said, "You can't? I can." And
Yeah.
I think that's a bad mark against Seinfeld. How do you not separate that? How do you not say this is bad? And every time I think
Well,
of him, I'm going to
I,
think of that. That amazes me.
Seinfeld can't separate it or can separate
Cannot,
it.
doesn't want to, doesn't think it's necessary.
Can't and doesn't want to are two different things,
No,
you know.
all right, then let me
So,
rephrase. Doesn't want to, doesn't see the big
uh,
deal. That's what I'm saying.
yeah,
Doesn't see the big deal.
right,
How do you not see the big deal?
yeah.
They were raped. They were beat. Jesus, what is? Does he have to shoot them? So that surprised me. But
And
I've always said this, and it is what it is. It doesn't make me unhappy or anything. There's a certain soullessness about Seinfeld. There's a certain lack of my God, did that really happen about him to me? To me, that always made me sick. And it's one of the reasons, although I know he's funny, and the reason I know he's funny is because I look around the room and I see people laughing, but he's never made me laugh. There's nothing about him that strikes my funny bone.
Yeah. You ever been around him without comedy? I mean,
yeah, he's very quiet.
Yeah. I got to know, I can't say I really know him well, but his manager, Howard West. George Shapiro was courting me when I was out in L.A. And I probably would have signed with him, except Howard West didn't like me, and I didn't. It wasn't going to be
smacked him.
It wasn't going to work. It wasn't going to work if Shapiro was promoting me and Howard West
should have beaten the shit out of him. Kicked him
right
in the nuts.
But I got to know Jerry and George Wallace and
nice guy, George.
Yeah, he is. And I got to know those guys during that time when I was being put on showcases with them. And so I found Jerry to be a pretty decent guy.
No, you can be, once again, you can be more than one thing.
Right.
I found him to be a nice guy. I found him to be a pleasant person, affable. But at the same time, his opinion about that, I found disturbing. You mean because to me.
He was pretty driven.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Well, remember, now when during this time that I'm talking about, though, was before his show was a hit. I mean, they had just, they had done pilots and that type of stuff.
Right. After pilot,
he wasn't the Jerry Seinfeld then that he became.
He wasn't the mega industry that he is now.
Exactly. So, in fact, I probably knew Michael Richards better than I knew Jerry Seinfeld because I worked more with him. Because Jerry was on the road all the time. Michael Richards never went on the road.
Jerry Seinfeld was on the road more than any comic I've ever known in my life. And when
Jay Leno was the only guy that topped him. So
right. So, and when I heard he was engaged, I said, "How do you marry?" This is the first thing I said. I wasn't trying to be funny. I said, "How do you marry someone you're never going to see again?" Because he was on the road so much. He was constantly on the road. But I found him very dramatically different, not as a negative, but from his public persona, because he was very quiet around me, and very very affable. Didn't have anything bad to say.
Yeah.
He was a good guy, but his attitude about certain things I found amazing, just amazing.
I felt when I was with him, I felt like he was always looking for what is the angle? How is this going to translate to my act? How is this? He was always.
Not only are
he was
you
always
right about
writing.
that, not only are you right about that, but it never ended.
Yeah, that was all the time.
Yeah, that was a constant. In other words, if you told him, I took a pair of shoes. There's an old joke about this. A guy takes a pair of shoes to the shoemaker, and he sees a pair of shoes up on the ledge, and he goes, "You know that those are my shoes?" And the shoemaker says, "Are they really?" He goes, "Yeah." And the shoemaker says, "They've been here 27 years." And the guy says, "Jesus Christ, is that true?" He goes, "Yeah, I'll have them for you by Tuesday." See, that's a great joke.
Oh, that is a great joke. And I tell you what, that's a Jewish joke. That is
absolutely. Oh, absolutely.
That is I joined. There's two websites I'm on. One is Old Jews Telling Jokes. Have you seen that?
Oh,
one?
I know that one.
I love that one. And the other one is
sure.
And the other one is Yiddish Word of the Day. Now I'm not Jewish, but man, I love Jewish people telling jokes, and I love Yiddish. What I'm learning.
Old Jews telling jokes. I'm trying to remember who was the source of that. Do you remember?
I don't know. I could look it up, I guess. But it's a great concept, though.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
What's great about it is it just shows how much of our form, our humor form, is from
other
northern
cultures?
and northeastern Europe and the Jews.
Oh yeah! Oh my God! Yeah. And it's always been that way, I think, for a long time.
Yeah,
what was the Old Jews telling you? It was a I remember it. I'm trying to remember.
They did an off-Broadway show of that, didn't they?
That's why I remember it.
It was such a successful. I remember it was such a successful YouTube channel. They ended up doing an off-Broadway, or maybe even it went to Broadway. I don't know.
That's why I remember it. Yes. The Old Jews telling jokes. That was a big thing for a while. Well, there's all these kinds of things, like you don't have to be Jewish.
Right.
That was one. Or you don't have to be Jewish, but it helps. I'm looking at the picture of you and me. Yeah. And there's something in here that sounds exactly like something my mother would say. You're in the show. Everyone can see and hear you. Just a different take on it, but yeah. Old Jews. You know what it was? I interviewed those guys. That's what it was. I interviewed the Old Jews Telling Jokes cast.
Oh, okay.
That's what it was. I was wondering why I remembered it so well. Old Jews Telling Jokes.
Yeah, they took their best storytellers and did a live version.
Yeah,
they could have taken that on the road. I think we have a theater. Our local Jewish.
There was a guy in that troupe, and I swear to you, I cannot remember his name. And every time I saw him, this is just one night I saw him.
Mm-hmm.
Every time I saw him, he would say to me, "You're Greenfield, right? Did I fuck your wife?"
God.
The first 5 times he said it, it was funny. The last 5, I said, "You have to have another line. You must have another line." And he said, "Yeah, but this one's getting laughs." I said, "It's just you and me in this room. I'm not laughing. So who does that leave?" He goes, "Your problem? You don't have any fucking heart." And I went, "Wow, you're the most defensive human being I've ever met in my life."
I'm glad I didn't see that. I'm glad I didn't see that segment, because that would have ruined me on Old Jews.
There's 2 people in the room. You're one of them. I'm not laughing, and you think this is funny. I said, "That's so sad." And he got very upset. He goes, "Let me tell you something. I said, please don't tell me when you opened up for George M. Cohan. Please. Please, just don't. Stop now. Please, I'm begging you. Okay? Just don't." And so a comic who I don't think you know, named Sandy Cohen, who passed away. Lovely guy. He walks up to us, and without knowing what was being said, without what this is so brilliant to me, without what was being said, walked up and said, "Is he boring you with your Jew shit again?" And I laughed so hard because Sandy's Jewish, or was
Right.
Jewish. And he goes, "Yeah, is he boring with it? Yeah. Did he go into his, years ago when I played at the Palace Theater with Jolie? Did he do that yet? Did he mention that he was 2 years old when Jolie died?" And he would not let up on this guy. He would not let up. And so I said to him later, I mean, it was like watching someone get pummeled. And I said to him later, why were you so tough on him? He goes, "He won't shut up. He will not shut his mouth. Everything out of his mouth is a lie." Wow. He never played with, he said, Jolson probably died when this guy was in utero. He said, it's so embarrassing. It's like him saying, when I opened up for Patrick Henry, everyone knows you weren't alive. You weren't. What are you doing? What the hell? I said, why does it bother you so much? He says, because and he said something I thought was very nice. He said, because this guy actually has a wealth of stories and anecdotes. He actually has, and he refuses to do them. He would rather it's easier to lie. It's easier to lie. Just to slip into a bullshit lie about what he's done without actually going into detail about a true story.
Has anybody ever used that as a device? The
what's that?
John Lovitz did it on Saturday Night Live. The liar.
Yeah, but that was obviously a.
Oh, I know, but that as a persona.
Listen, I'm sure they have. I'm sure they have. We were talking about Ron Ramey. Ron Ramey couldn't get up in the morning without telling 3 lies.
Right.
So yeah, but the thing about it is, if you are well known, and you are considered someone who's funny, okay, it's easier. I know this sounds amazing, but it's easier to tell those lies than to actually take the time and effort to do the right thing, which is to tell a true story.
Right.
I remember Robert Klein came into the comic strip. Do you know Jim Mendrinos?
Yes.
Okay. So Jim Mendrinos, who
in fact,
also
I chat with him occasionally on Facebook. Yeah. I don't.
So Jim Mendrinos is at the strip, and I'm talking to him. And Klein, I don't mean this literally, is all over his girlfriend.
Uh-huh.
And Jim looks at me with, I still remember this look of just utter despair. And he goes, "You know something? No one on this planet admired Robert Klein more than me. And I'm watching him trying to bang my girlfriend as we stand here." And I laughed, and he said, "I really mean it. He's trying to get her." I said, "He's not going to get her. You two are, you're divorced, and you're a couple." He goes, "That," and he looked at me, and he went he held his finger up, and he went, "that he would even do it." He said, "It's not like he's like gently flirting. He's really trying." I said, "Well, now you know what he is." He goes, "That's what bothers me. Now I know what he really is." But see, I also say this, I also take this as that. You're looking at Robert Klein at 1 hour of his life. And maybe, I don't know this, maybe for that moment, she found him intriguing. Maybe she hit on him. We don't know everything. We just don't. So, when these kind of things happen, I try I don't try. I don't get upset. It just, that's who he is. That's who he is. That's what he does, But yeah. I remember Klein's divorce was one of the nastiest public divorces I've ever seen in my life. It was horrible.
Was he divorced from the opera singer? Is that what you're talking about, or is that
no? Who was the first wife?
I didn't know the first wife. He's married to an opera singer. I thought was that his second marriage?
He's married to an opera singer as we speak.
Right.
Then the wife I'm talking about was the first one.
Okay.
but it was awful. It was,
Hey,
I mean, it was like leaving claw marks.
you
And
want
and
to meet a
about,
new comic?
huh? I'm sorry.
Would you like? Would you like to meet a new comic? I invited the people I worked with last night to
Yes,
join us, and
please.
it looks like somebody
Sure.
popped in. All
I
right.
thought you were setting me up with a punchline.
Didn't want to break off your story. What's that?
I thought you were setting me up with a punchline.
No, 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 no. I just have somebody.
Oh
I have
no, that's
somebody
fine.
in
Sure,
the.
absolutely.
I have somebody in the. I have somebody in the room who
In
just
the
popped
cellar.
in, and since I invited everyone to in the cell, yeah, somebody's in the cellar. I want to bring them upstairs.
Give
The
the guy a
gig
little
parade.
breathing
Anyway,
room.
no, I invited everyone I worked with last. I invited everyone I worked with last night to come by. So here's one of the comments. I saw her for the first time last night, and I was. I don't know if you remember. I
Barbara,
used to do a thing called the Unclub here
say again.
in I used to do a show called the Unclub here in the Ann Arbor area.
Beautiful Detroit. Uh-huh.
Beautiful Detroit. Anyway, we
It's funny
resurrected
you
it a
never
few
say
weeks
Detroit.
ago.
You actually refer to the very specific city area. In other
Oh
words, you'll
well,
say Ann Arbor or you'll say something, but you never. It's not a criticism. I just find it interesting.
well, actually, part of my work with the Democrats is, and it won't happen in the 20 years I have left on this planet. But I would like to see all this suburbanization end. Oh, it looks like we lost Sam. We'll have to have Sam come back in. And now I'm going to introduce a new comic on the scene. Saw her work for the first time last night, and I'm glad she stopped by because I asked her to.
Hey,
Here's Amy
it's
Jo.
Amy Jo.
Huh?
Yep,
What's
Amy
that?
Jo. Amy
Amy
Jo,
Jo,
not Amy
yeah.
Joy.
Yeah, I did that last night. I'm
Yeah,
sorry. I won't do that again. I won't do that again. Today you're Amy
yeah,
Jo.
I had to
So.
wear my glasses today. I had something wrong with my eye, so yeah,
Oh,
had to wear
well,
them today. But I wasn't expecting to pop in here, so
Well, thanks for stopping by. I had with me, and he's almost almost a co-host. He's so regular, but Sam Greenfield from uh, from the circuit. I mean, he's like 74 years old, and is an old time comic, and he also did radio, and he knows just about everybody. So he's always fun to have on our off nights. And he's the type of guy. He played Detroit quite a bit. I mean, he's from New York, but he played Detroit quite a bit. Now I'm going to bring him back. It looks like he's back in.
Forgive me. I lost you
sneaking
at.
it.
I lost you
hey.
at. I saw you at.
So anyway, Sam, this is Amy Jo.
Hi,
I saw her
Amy Jo.
I saw her for the first time
Hi.
last night. She's shockingly younger than, or she's shockingly older than she appears. She looks like she's like 24 years old, but I think that's
What is she, 25?
I think that's the age of her oldest
yeah, I
child.
love it. My kids hate it.
Yeah,
I
well.
even had it backfire on me trying to date and telling my kids, call me sis, and then having 18, 19-year-olds hit on me, and I'm like, I'm going to go to prison. Please don't.
That's
Yeah.
biblical because Abraham
Put it
told
back,
Abraham told Sarah to say that she was his sister. That's in the Bible. So
So
it's
you're
biblical.
actually doing Hollywood stuff, kind of gossipy stuff.
Exactly. Hey,
Yeah.
but
Well,
I
one
never-
thing is disheartening is when this younger generation, they ask you what it's like growing up in the 1900s, and then finally realizing that, yeah, you were born in the 1900s.
Well, when somebody asks me what it's like, I tell them, when somebody says to me, "What's it like?" and was it like in the 1950s? I don't get insulted because I was there.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, my kids asked me if Jesus was really cool in high school.
Ooh.
So I told them we went to prom,
My favorite
Yeah,
one.
had
but
a
you
great
had to pay.
time.
But you had to pay for the limo.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, it was a cheap ass.
back in the day when I had a lot of free or frequent flyer miles, I used to send my kids and my wife to the places I was working. One time I was working in Orlando, so my wife and my daughter and my oldest son are all going in, and a guy gets up because he saw that my son and my wife had separate seats, And he goes, "Here, if you want to sit with your wife." And my kid says,
That's
"That's my mother." It's
Oh,
it's
of course,
funny.
my wife loved it that she.
Mark, when you said back in when you started that sentence and you said back in the blah blah when I had free, and I thought he's got 8 kids. How's that going to end? When I had free time?
Yeah.
it-
No,
well,
there
we
was a
know what he
time.
was doing in that free time. You
Back
know,
before,
Well, we do now.
back
those
before,
kids
back
just didn't
before.
manifest.
That's right. You pop them out like peas.
Yeah.
Well, Amy Jo, I don't think Amy Jo knows this. I got 8 kids, so
Wow. Yeah, I stopped
Amy,
after 2.
that's
It
8.
hurts.
Ocho. 8.
yeah, it's 8. Yeah, 8 is definitely enough. Yeah.
Yeah. Amy, I have
No,
1.
no.
I'm not out during football games that are going into overtime.
Oh, but like Sam, all my boys have moved out. I just have girls left, and so we're
Well, I have no
outnumbered.
one. I'm an empty
Oh, that's right.
nester.
Oh, so you get to watch football
Yeah,
now, right?
I'm actually at that age where I'm about to be. My oldest has actually moved out, and I just have the youngest here, and he's going to be moving out. He'll be 19 in June, so it's kind of I'm going to downsize.
Well,
I'm ready to downsize.
That's
I'm
a
just
great
happy
word.
that I have looking younger going for me at this point.
It's an interesting thing. When Cassie moved out, there was never a moment of, well, now that you're, moving out, I can watch football, because she would look at me and go, "You can't meaningfully measure how little I care what you watch on TV." She said, "I wouldn't care if you were watching the assassination of the Archduke of Ferdinand. I don't care." She reached a point in her maturation where she was like, "I'm over here, you're over there, and that's how it stays."
Just
Okay?
coexisting.
Yeah, I love you. You're my dad. You're great, but we coexist. And what you watch on TV couldn't possibly matter less to me.
She'll come back. They all do.
You are so wrong. It hurts my heart. No, we talk on the phone all the time.
Oh yeah.
But in terms of what we share, in terms of that, I go, "How are you going?" And this is what happens. "Hey, how's it going?" "Fine." Is there anything else you feel contrived to ask me? No, that's the only contrivance.
Yeah, my youngest is a gamer, so I pretty much we don't.
Yeah,
the only time he really wants, if he's hungry or something like that,
Yeah,
he'll
you
come
might
to
as
me.
well be.
But other than
You might as
that,
well be
it's
speaking Serbian
totally
to
in
me.
the zone.
Oh man,
I don't get it. I tried it at one point in my life, but it's just there's so many other things to do than sit around playing video games.
But the thing about being a gamer,
I don't even play games on my phone.
Yeah, the thing about being a gamer is that if that's something that you do, that's all you do. There
Exactly, that's all he does.
There are people who play that 20 hours a day.
I told him the other day, I said, "You need to clean your room." And then I don't even know where these millennials come up with some of the stuff they say. And he said to me, "You only had children to have slaves." And I'm looking around and I'm like, if this is true, I would so beat you, because you're doing a really bad job, because it's not clean.
If he had said that to me, you know what I would have said?
I could sell you to the neighbors and they'll beat you too. It's crazy. It's just so, I think it has a lot to do with him getting away from the game. So it's like he's come up with these crazy assumptions and stuff.
I can't imagine devoting that much time to that. But that's generational. That's absolutely generational. But I don't get it.
I don't really think it's generational, because I actually dated a guy who was maybe about a year older than me, and that's all he did.
So he's 22.
Was play the game. He was 40 at the time. I was 39.
Said it with love. Said with love.
This is a while ago. So we would actually go out to eat or something, and he'd be, "Oh, we got to hurry up and get back. I got to get back to my game. Something happened in
it's
it."
an addiction.
Well,
It
it's
really
funny.
is. I was like, I can't deal with this. I can't.
No.
My
I
wife,
need somebody who's not.
my wife is addicted to Pokemon Go, but she got into it because it was the only way she could communicate with my two oldest sons. They would
Oh,
never answer. They would never answer her calls. They would never answer her text messages. But if she communicated with them through Pokemon Go, then she'd hear from them, so she'd know they were alive. So
oh, well,
It
there
was
you
her way of detecting a
I mean, with
pulse.
boys, they tend to take off and not really call you. Maybe once in a while, once a month, or you know what I mean. I see that with my oldest, and I'm like worried about him. I'll text him like every other day. How you doing? How you doing? Like just to make sure now.
It's interesting that once Cass moved out, the conversations we have on the phone are much better. Are much better.
that makes sense to me.
We actually talk about things.
Yeah, exactly. When they live with you, it's more like, you go into that parent mode.
Yeah. So how was your day? Fine. I'm walking. I'm going in the other room now.
Yeah, exactly. See,
I tell you what, I have my 8th child is my only remaining child. All the rest, 7 of the 8 are adults now, and my remaining child in high school. This one is, I got to keep her because I've already put in.
That's hysterical.
I've already put in 15 years. I've already put in 15 years, and I might as well see it through to the end. And plus, I've had 7 other 15-year-olds, and I know it gets better. But
I got to keep her because you know how the police are about that.
You know how they are. But the thing is,
they have a thing about not feeding them either.
They get touchy when you go, really?
My favorite line to her, and I'm not sure she even gets it, is, "My only regret is that I won't be alive for the reading of my will." And she doesn't see that as a smack against her.
Mark, you know Uncle Dirty?
Yes.
Uncle Dirty and his wife had a child. They had a child. And Uncle Dirty used to tell me, I hope I die before she's old. I hope I die before she's old enough to hate me.
It's a good line.
Did you just ask me if he's still alive?
I think he just passed away, didn't he?
Did he?
I'm Googling it right now.
You know the last thing he did? You know the last thing he did that you ever saw? He played the father.
Uncle Dirty.
He played the father in Goodfellas.
That's right. That's right.
He didn't have any lines. But yeah, he was Ray Liotta's father. No. He was Lorraine Bracco's father. Your father doesn't go out like that. Your father doesn't spend all night with other people. That was him. You know what else he did for a living, by the way? He was a stockbroker.
Really?
Oh, yeah, and he made people money.
Huh. I did not know that.
I'm not saying this with any sense of happiness. He's got to be dead. He was 70 when that was made. And it wasn't like it wasn't like he was a marathoner.
Bob Altman. Hold on, let me find out.
Bob Altman, that's him.
Hold on, let me find.
If he's alive, if he's alive, that's a testament to bad living.
Did you ever see the video that the San Francisco comic? I can't think of his name now. The one who had such a horrible reputation, or great reputation, depending on how you look at it.
For what?
Partying.
Oh, in San Francisco, you have to be more specific.
Shit, I can't. That's the worst part about doing the show is I try to remember names and I can't remember names. He died in 2017. Bob Altman.
Who did? Altman?
Uncle Dirty died in 2017, March.
Okay. 10th, how old does it say how old he was? I'm guessing 80.
He was, 69, 17, so he was 86.
Son of a bitch.
He was 86. Man.
You know what he reminds me of? You remember, what was his name? Jim Fix, the marathoner?
Yes.
Okay, the story about him was he weighed 260 pounds, he smoked, and one day he said, this is going to kill me. So he started jogging, very lightly, and he became a marathoner. And people used to say that's what killed him. And I said, no, 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 no. That's what extended his life by another 20 years.
Right.
And so the joke was, is that what he does? He runs? Yeah. You know what is he runs? He said, yeah, I used to go to I was a pallbearer at a jogger's funeral. I think it was him. But no, that's what kept him alive longer than he had any right to expect to live. Because he jogged, because he ran.
One thing I do have to say is that a lot of people always say, like, smoking's going to kill you, alcohol's going to kill you. My grandfather actually was a smoker and an alcoholic up until he was like about 60.
So
and then
he was
he
a double
stopped.
threat.
Yes. And he had a hernia. Okay, he had a hernia since he had as a child, and he lived to be 96.
You know, it really
doesn't really matter if you got longevity.
It just depends. It just does.
But he quit. But there's the end part with he quit 36 years before he actually died. So,
my father smoked, drank, never exercised. And when I tell people this, they go, "That's amazing. How old was he when he died?" I said, 63. And they laugh. I go, "I'm serious. He was 63. Well, do you think," I said, asking, you don't know my dad, but asking, had he stopped all this, would he have he was never going to stop. He was never going to stop. So it's like asking if he had stopped shooting heroin. No, he wasn't going to stop. That's who he was. He never exercised. He worked, he owned a grocery store. He spent most of his free time sitting down. He died of a stroke. It just wasn't, I'm not happy about it. I loved him, but he wasn't going to change. So that's who he was. And there are other people. His father lived to be 92. My mother lived. I have a sister. My sister Corinne is 93.
See, longevity. So,
yeah. And my brother.
I think it all has to do with the genes.
Yeah, my brother who passed away like a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, died at 92, and he didn't die from he died from dementia. So I used to go up to him all the time and go, "Remember the will? Do you remember that? You cheap son of a bitch. Do you remember that?"
No.
Okay. What did they say? The best thing about dementia is you meet so many interesting new people.
Yes. There you go.
But that's it. That's who he was. I don't know how long he was in good health. I mean, except for the dementia, but that's except for the gunshot wound. But except for he was in good health. So had he not had that, who knows? I don't know how that happens. There are two people in my family who have that, and me, my sister, and my other sister Elaine. We're not within a mile of dementia, so who knows?
Yeah, I had both of my grandmothers. They passed away from Alzheimer's on both sides. So I'm always like drinking palm juice, trying to remember things. I'm a little jaded with names, so it gets me a little scared. Like, oh shoot, is it like preset?
Let me help you with that, Amy Jo, let me help you with that about the scared of names thing. No. The older you get, the more shit goes into your head. And the more stuff that goes into your head, the more difficult it is to parse out what you can and cannot remember. That is not, you'll be fine.
Well, I worked in customer service for 27 years. And at one point, I actually worked for the Palace of Auburn Hills. I was part of one of their entertainment teams for 2 seasons. So I met and communicated and seen a lot of people in my life. And I think it was about 4 years ago. It's hard for me to remember everybody's name because I've met so many people.
That's exactly right.
So it's really hard. And if you're consistent and I see you constantly, I'm going to remember you. And if you make that impact with me, that first impression impact, I'm going to remember you. You know what I mean? Like that's something.
I think you're right on the money.
I do meet people, I try to make that impact myself.
You're right on the money. That's what it is. That's exactly what it is. If it's someone who you met and you like them and you remember, then you remember them. And you're not going to burn in hell because you forgot them.
That's true.
Hopefully. It depends on who you're forgetting. Like, I don't know. I don't know if
sometimes
the
forgetting people.
Like,
sometimes forgetting someone is actually a plus.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Actually, yes.
Yeah. I don't want to spend the rest of my life.
Just starting out in comedy, there's a lot of people that I've met that I'm kind of happy I don't remember their name.
That's right. Yeah. Committing yourself to trying to remember someone's name who you don't like will kill you faster than any other thing you can do. What's that son of a bitch's name?
I have to do it at work. At work all day. So like, now not working in customer service where I'm seeing different people every day because I've worked for busy establishments, not seeing different people and seeing the same people every day has gotten me to the point where I'm like, no, I got to get out. I've got to meet new people. I can't just sit here and see the same people over and over because their Karen and Kenness is getting on my nerves because I working.
Well, my father said the worst thing you can do for your physical health. My father said this. He said, and he died years ago, decades ago. He said the worst thing you can do for your physical well-being is when you run into someone who you met before and pretend that you like them when you don't.
Oh gosh, yeah, I realize that now.
He said it takes a toll on you because now you're struggling to be nice to someone who, frankly, if they drop dead in front of you, you'd go, "I'm sorry, I'm stepping over you now." It doesn't matter.
Kicking you.
Don't you hate? I hate that. I hate the kicking. Yeah. Oh, that's the part that I really can't. Mark, I'm not dropping hints. I'm really not, but I can't believe I'm awake.
Oh,
really?
Hey.
Well, Amy, you don't know the backstory on this. About 4 weeks ago, around 7:30 in the evening, I got unbelievably tired out of nowhere. I just couldn't keep my eyes open. So I went to sleep at 7:30, and I woke up at 1.
The night he was supposed to be on this show. Yeah.
No. And I woke up at 1:45 a.m. And that's been going on for a month.
Oh, wow.
And so I go, well, I wake up and I feel refreshed and I go, all right, I had 5.5, 6 hours sleep. And I get up to go to the bathroom and then I look at the clock. I go, 1:45. Shit.
So my day go?
I watch Colbert and then pray that there's a Law and Order rerun on. And other than that, I got nothing. I got nothing. But, Mark, I finished my play.
Good.
Finally finished it. Oh, thank God. So now I'm going to shop it to everybody who likes violence, and we'll see what happens.
Sounds good.
Amy, where are you from originally?
Michigan. Fenton, Michigan.
Benton Harbor?
Fenton.
Nope. Fenton.
Oh, you said Fenton with an F.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, grew up in a small town. You shart your pants at like 8 o'clock in the morning. By 8:05, everybody in town knows. That's how small my town was.
I performed in Benton Harbor.
It was pretty small.
I performed a lot in Michigan. I look back on it now. It's amazing how many places I performed in Michigan, like 15 different cities.
Oh, really?
Michigan was probably responsible for the 80s being, or at least partially responsible for the 80s being such a huge road decade. Because
I could not agree. You're absolutely right.
Unlike, Minnesota had a circuit and Ohio had a circuit, but Michigan, there are enough towns 90 miles away from each other
to sustain you.
Yes. We had enough towns in Michigan. There was a club in Jackson, in Flint.
I played in Jackson.
In Saginaw, in Traverse City, in Sault Ste. Marie. I mean, there were enough. And the way Michigan is spread out, it looks like a Chinese checkerboard, where
you could play in Michigan 2 shows in each town and have a year mapped out.
Yep. Steve Billnitzer and I went at one time, we basically cataloged all the gigs, the ones that paid at least $500.
The ones you could make a living off of.
The ones you could make a living off of. They paid $500 for Friday and Saturday. So it's only $125 a show because we're doing 2 shows a night.
It's $500.
It's still $500, and we're talking about 1980s $500, right?
That's right.
The apex for the comedy was in 1989. If you took the Populous Center, which we consider to be the intersection of I-275 and I-696 in suburban Detroit.
Oh man, yes.
And you went an hour on those freeways, north, south, east, or west. There were at least 19 rooms in 1989 that paid a comic at least $500
to make a living.
And that's 19. You did that twice a year. You did, and
that's what I'm saying.
That was the middle act.
Weeks.
That wasn't even the headline. The middlers were making $500, and that's what I moved to LA on, because once I had established myself with these rooms that I could always count on for my nut. That allowed me to move out to LA and start making inroads out there.
I'm gonna tell you a story, Mark, that you're gonna love. Amy Jo, I don't know if you know these people, but I think you'll like the humor of it. I worked with Tim. I know you know Tim Allen. I worked with Tim Allen. And when I first met him, he was a little standoffish.
My mom and dad actually went to go see his comedy act maybe about 2 years before he got his television show.
He's a brilliant comic.
I remember them going around the house.
Yep. No, he was a brilliant,
he was
a brilliant comic. So I, he was a little standoffish at first, but then, as he got to know me, he was very nice to me, very helpful. And so I was the middle act, and I do not remember, no matter how hard I try, the name of the the name of the opening act. But he kept asking Tim, how much you making this week? And I don't know how well you know Tim, but he would rather be smacked in the face than be asked that.
Right.
And so, because it's none of the guy's business. I mean, who the hell are you,
Yeah.
And so Tim said,
no, because some people make more than other people, and you
that's all there is to it. So Tim said to me, let me finish this one thought. So Tim said to me, I really don't like that guy. And I said, why? He said, what business is it of his how much I make? Why don't you ask me how much my mortgage is? Who the hell are you? And so the guy comes over and he says to me, how much do you think Tim makes? I said, man, why, you're touching the third rail of the subway. What are you doing? It's none of your business. He goes, but don't you see it helps all of us? I said, it doesn't help him. How does it help him? It helps you, because now and by the way, you think you're going to get within a light year of what he makes? He's a headliner. He's a national headliner. Leave well enough alone. And so he walks up to, and it was like I had never said it. It was like I had never said it. And so he walks up to him and he says, how much you making this week? And Tim put his arm around his shoulder and said, I'm making so much more than you that if I told you, you would break down and cry. Now go away and never talk to me again, or I'll get you fired. And so the guy gets up and walks away, and Tim looks at me and goes, you see, I can be nice. Oh, God, that was so great. Well, folks, it's coming up on 9:30.
Yep, and you know what? It's time to end the show because
and I am still awake.
Yeah, and I got to pick. My daughter gets off of work pretty soon, so I got to go pick her up.
Amy Jo, it was a pleasure.
It was nice meeting you too, Sam.
Stay well. Stay in good health. That's very Jewish, by the way.
That's right.
That's fine.
Without Jews, we wouldn't have comedy.
Very Jewish thing to say.
I'm actually one of those Kabbalans, so I have an understanding and respect for all religions, going back to the Sumerians. So.
You're a nice person. I'm glad I met you.
No,
I'm going to put you on the list. I'm going to put you on the list, Amy Jo, and you come anytime you got an off night on a Monday night.
Yeah, please drop by.
Come and join us. Good humor.
Yeah,
good
definitely.
Looking,
tonig's an off night. I usually go to New Way Bar in Ferndale on Mondays to do their open mic. When I say I'm fairly new to doing comedy, I've just got back into it about 4 weeks ago. So learning as much as I can from both of you guys, or just even interacting and throwing around ideas or whatnot. It
Sure.
definitely helps.
Well, here's something. Here's
And,
something that's nice about comedy is no matter how long you're out, when you want to get back in, there's always room for everybody.
And my interview with Thomas Edison is coming up next week, so that ought to be fun for everybody to.
All right, thanks for coming by. It's the off night every Monday night at 8:00.
Good night, everybody. Stay well, please.
And we'll see you. And we'll see you next week at the Unclub Sunday night in Nipsey at the Ale House, and back here Monday night at 8. Good night, everybody.
Be good, kids.